She believed she was a miracle child, loved, chosen, and born against all odds. But everything changed the day Amanda opened an old folder in her late grandfather's attic. Inside were sealed court documents, DNA results, and an adoption record with her name on it. Her real name. The lies ran deeper than she ever imagined, and the one behind them? Her own mother. What would you do if you discovered your entire life was built on a lie? Stay with us till the end, because what Amanda finds next will leave you speechless. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more shocking real-life stories that hit harder than fiction. Amanda Brooks had never been close to her grandfather. He was always quiet, kept to himself, and didn't talk much during family gatherings. Still, when he passed away, she flew from Virginia to Ohio to help clean out his old house. He had lived alone in that same two-story farmhouse for decades. Her mom said, "He wanted you to have a few of his things." Amanda didn't expect to find anything meaningful. She was just being helpful. The house smelled like old books and dust. Furniture was covered with white sheets. Her grandfather's favorite rocking chair sat by the window still. Everything looked untouched, like time had frozen inside the house. On the third day of cleaning, Amanda opened the attic door. The wooden stairs creaked under her feet. The attic was dim and cluttered, filled with boxes, suitcases, and old furniture. She started sorting through them: books, old clothes, photo albums. Then she noticed a brown folder, slightly hidden under a stack of newspapers from the 1980s. Something about that folder caught her attention. It wasn't dusty like the rest. It looked placed, like someone had tucked it away with care. Amanda sat on the attic floor, pulled her hoodie tighter, and opened the folder. Inside were documents, dozens of them. Court filings, notarized papers, sealed envelopes. A few photos fell out. One showed a woman holding a baby. Another had a hospital wristband. Her breath caught when she saw the name written on the band: Brooks, Amanda. That was her name. Her full name. At first she thought maybe it was something her mom saved from when she was born. But then she saw a DNA test result. Her fingers trembled as she read the words: biological relationship, not established. Next to that were two names, her mother's and her own. He checked the date. She was 24 years old when this test had been done. That was just 3 years ago. Her heart began to pound. She pulled out another document. It was an adoption record. There it was in black ink: adopted child, Amanda Brooks. Adopted? That couldn't be. Her mother had always said, "You were my miracle baby. I wasn't supposed to get pregnant. You just came out of nowhere and saved my life." Amanda stared at the folder in disbelief. She had grown up believing she was her mother's only child. There had never been talk of adoption, never any doubt. Her birth certificate listed her mother's name, her father's name was left blank, but no one ever talked about that. It was always just her and her mom against the world. She sat frozen on the attic floor for what felt like hours. Then came the photos. One picture was dated 2 days after her birth. It showed a woman she didn't recognize, holding a baby wrapped in a hospital blanket. The back of the photo had a name scribbled in faded pen: Emily, July 1996. That wasn't her mother. Amanda couldn't breathe properly. Her hands were shaking. Her thoughts were spinning. Is Emily my real mom? Did she give me up for adoption? Why didn't anyone tell me? She took a photo of the documents and placed them carefully back into the folder. She didn't want her mother to know, not yet. First she needed answers. Real answers. She needed to know who Emily was. Back in her grandfather's living room, Amanda turned on the Wi-Fi hotspot from her phone and started searching. Emily, Ohio, 1996, baby girl adoption. It was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. She tried using the hospital name from the wristband. Finally, she stumbled upon an old article from a local newspaper. The headline read, "Young mother forced to give up baby due to health issues." The photo attached to the article was blurry, but familiar. It was the same woman from the attic photo. Emily had been 18 when she gave birth to Amanda. The article said she was sick, no money, no family support. She gave up her baby to a family friend. Amanda's chest tightened. Was her mom that friend? Suddenly things started making sense. Her mom had always been extra protective, sometimes too much. She never allowed Amanda to see her own medical records. Once, when Amanda was 16, she asked about her father. Her mom had snapped, "You don't need a man who left us. You have me." That night Amanda couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the words written on the back of the photo. You were loved before you knew who you were. She flew back to Virginia with the folder hidden deep inside her luggage. She didn't tell her mom she found anything. But she couldn't unsee what she'd read. Everything she thought she knew, her name, her history, her mother, was now uncertain. For the next few days Amanda watched her mother closely. Every smile looked rehearsed. Every sentence sounded like it was covering something. One night as they sat at the dinner table Amanda finally asked, "Mom, did you ever know someone named Emily?" Her mother dropped her fork. There was a long pause. "Where did you hear that name?" she asked, her voice low. Amanda looked her in the eye. "Just answer me." Her mother wiped her hands slowly, like she was preparing for something. "Yes," she said finally. "A long time ago. We were friends." "Why?" Amanda placed the photo on the table. The one of Emily holding the newborn baby. Her mother stared at it. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Where did you get this?" she asked. "In Grandpa's attic." There was another silence. And then her mother did something Amanda never expected. She started crying. Real, silent tears that rolled down her face. She didn't speak for a full minute. Then she whispered, "You weren't supposed to know like this." Amanda felt a wave of emotions. Sadness, anger, confusion. Then how was I supposed to know? Never. Her mother nodded slowly. "Yes. I never wanted you to know." Amanda's voice cracked. "Why would you hide this from me? All my life you said I was your miracle." "You were," her mother said. "Just, not in the way you thought." That night, Amanda sat alone in her room, folder in her lap. The truth had started coming out, but it was just the beginning. She had more questions now than ever before. Who was Emily really? Was she alive? Why did Amanda end up with her mom and not someone else? And most of all, why had her mom lied? Amanda sat cross-legged on the wooden floor of the attic, her hands trembling as she spread out the contents of the old folder. The yellowed papers smelled of dust and time. One document caught her eye immediately, an official-looking letter from the Ohio Department of Health. Her name was printed clearly at the top. Beneath it, in bold letters, Certificate of Adoption. Her breath caught. He picked it up, blinking at the seal and the date. It was from 1990, just a few months after her birth. Her fingers ran over the name listed under adoptive parents. There it was again, her mom, Sarah Brooks. And a blank space where father should have been. She tried to steady herself, but the questions came flooding in. Why hadn't anyone told her? Was this real? She dug deeper into the folder. There were black and white photocopies of DNA test results, printed emails between lawyers, and even a grainy picture of a young woman holding a baby. On the back, someone had written in faded ink, "Amanda, 1 month." It didn't feel real. But every line, every signature, every photo said otherwise. Downstairs, her Aunt Janice was making coffee, unaware of the quiet storm in the attic above. Amanda slowly packed the folder back together, her heart pounding. She needed answers, but not from strangers. She needed to talk to the one person who could explain everything, her mother. Amanda drove back to Columbus that night, her head spinning. Her phone buzzed with texts from coworkers and friends, but she didn't reply. She stared out the windshield, the documents safe in her bag beside her. For 32 years she believed she was a biological child. A miracle, as her mother always said. But now that phrase carried a strange bitterness. When she reached home, her mom was on the porch watering the plants. "Back early," Sarah said with a smile. "Everything okay at the house?" Amanda didn't answer. She walked straight into the living room and placed the folder on the coffee table. Sarah followed slowly, sensing the shift in the air. "Amanda." Amanda didn't sit. "Who am I?" Her mom froze. "What are you talking about?" Amanda opened the folder and pulled out the adoption certificate. "This. All of this. Why didn't you ever tell me?" For a long moment, the room was silent except for the ticking of the old wall clock. Sarah sat down, her face pale. "I always meant to. But every year that passed, it just got harder." Amanda's voice cracked. "You lied to me. My whole life." "I never lied," Sarah whispered. I thought it was better this way." Amanda paced the room. "Better? For who?" "Not me. I've spent my life wondering why I looked different from you, why I didn't feel like I fit. I asked you, remember? And you told me I was just imagining it. Sarah was crying now. Because I was scared you'd feel unloved. I wanted you to feel chosen, not abandoned. Amanda sat across from her, the documents scattered between them. So tell me the truth. All of it. No more stories. Sarah nodded slowly and began. She had been in her early 30s, single and heartbroken after several miscarriages. One night she got a call from a friend who worked at a shelter near Dayton. A young woman had just given birth and wanted to give her baby up for adoption. Sarah drove there the next morning and met a frightened teenager named Lila. He was just 17. She said she couldn't raise a child. No family support. No job. She just wanted her daughter to have a better life, Sarah explained. We talked for hours. I promised her I'd raise you with love. Amanda listened quietly, absorbing each word like a stone sinking in water. I legally adopted you through private attorneys. I told your grandfather everything and he helped me keep the paperwork safe. I didn't mean to hide it forever, Amanda. Tears rolled down Amanda's face. And my biological mom? Do you know where she is now? Sarah hesitated. She asked me not to contact her. She wanted a clean break. But there might be a way to find her. I kept some letters. The next day Amanda took off from work. Her commanding officer, a kind man named Lieutenant Barrett, told her to take all the time she needed. Family comes first, he said. Back at home, Sarah handed over a small tin box. Inside were 3 letters, all from Lila, written in soft cursive, postmarked from different cities. The last one was dated 2002. It simply read, "Please don't tell her about me. I don't want to hurt her or confuse her. Just raise her well. Thank you for loving her." Amanda read the letter again and again. She didn't feel anger toward Lila. Just sadness. And a strange kind of longing. He typed the name into Google. Lila Jennings, Ohio. Dozens of results came up. Most were irrelevant. But one caught her eye. An old newspaper article about a woman named Lila who had worked at a bookstore in Dayton. The photo was blurry but something about the eyes looked familiar. A week later Amanda was in Dayton. She walked into the old bookstore, heart racing. It smelled like paper and rain. A middle-aged man stood behind the counter. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for someone who used to work here," she said. "Lila Jennings?" He studied her for a second. "You're not the first one looking for her," he said quietly. "She passed away. Cancer. About 3 years ago." Amanda's knees felt weak. Did she ever talk about a daughter? The man's expression softened. She talked about a girl she gave up. Said she thought about her every day. Even had a picture in her drawer. Never said much else. He reached under the counter and pulled out a small photo. "We kept it. Figured someone might come looking." It was the same photo Amanda had found in the attic. A young woman holding a baby. This one was clearer. Amanda stared at the baby, realizing for the first time what that photo truly meant. "She loved you," the man said. Even if she never got to say it. Amanda drove back home in silence. Her world had changed forever, but not in a way that broke her. In fact, it made her stronger. Later that night, she sat beside her mother. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything. I'm angry, but I know you loved me." Sarah took her hand. "You're still my miracle. Always will be." Amanda didn't say anything for a while. She looked up at the stars outside. Somehow she felt closer to a woman she never met. And somehow that made her whole. Amanda sat alone in her car, parked just down the road from her mother's house. The sun was setting behind the trees, casting long shadows across the quiet street. She had driven all the way here straight from the lawyer's office, still clutching the old folder in her lap like it might disappear if she let go. Her thoughts were racing. Every part of her life, every memory, every belief, suddenly felt shaky like a painting that looked perfect until someone turned it upside down. She looked at the house she grew up in. The porch light was on. Her mom's car was in the driveway. Everything looked the same. But Amanda felt like a stranger standing outside the life she thought she knew. She took a deep breath and got out of the car. As she stepped up to the door, she remembered being 5 years old, coming home after her first day of kindergarten. Her mom had been waiting at the door with chocolate milk and open arms. That memory used to feel warm. Now it just made her stomach turn. She knocked gently. A moment later the door opened. Her mother, Ellen Brooks, looked surprised, then smiled. "Amanda. What a nice surprise." Amanda forced a smile. Hey Mom. Can I come in? Of course, sweetheart, Ellen said, stepping aside. You okay? Amanda walked in slowly, clutching the folder under her arm. We need to talk. They sat in the living room. Ellen reached for the remote to mute the TV, then turned to her daughter. You're scaring me. What's wrong? Amanda didn't say anything right away. She opened the folder and pulled out a few papers. The adoption documents, the DNA results, and a faded photo of a woman Amanda didn't recognize. Where did you get this? Ellen asked, her voice already trembling. From Grandpa's attic, Amanda said quietly. There were more. Court files, letters. Mom, what is this? Why is my name on adoption papers? Ellen's face went pale. Her hands dropped into her lap. Amanda continued, her voice shaking now. Why did you never tell me I was adopted? For a long time her mother said nothing. Then she closed her eyes and whispered, because you were mine. In every way that mattered, you were mine. But you lied to me. My whole life. Amanda's voice cracked. You told me I was a miracle. That I was born after you thought you could never have children. I did think that, Ellen said, tears rising. And then you came to me. Felt like a miracle. I loved you like you were born from my own body. But I wasn't. Ellen nodded slowly. No. You weren't. Amanda sat back, letting the truth hang in the air. I was 28, Ellen began. Your father and I had tried everything. Years of fertility treatments, hormone therapy. Nothing worked. I was broken, emotionally, physically. I didn't know what to do. And then one day a lawyer called. Said there was a baby girl just a few days old. No known family. No one was claiming her. I didn't even ask many questions. I just said yes. Amanda stared at her. So you never even knew who my real parents were? I knew your mother's name. She was very young. 17, I think. She didn't want to be found. She gave you up quietly. The court sealed everything. Amanda swallowed. But why didn't you ever tell me? I was scared, Ellen admitted. I was afraid you'd feel less loved. That you'd start looking for something else and forget me. I thought, if I loved you hard enough, you'd never need to know. Amanda shook her head slowly. I still deserved the truth. I know, her mom said, her voice cracking. You're right. I should have told you. I just couldn't bear the thought of losing you. They sat in silence for a while. Amanda stared down at the photo in her lap. A teenage girl with sad eyes. Her biological mother? She didn't even know her name yet. I need to know where I come from, Amanda said finally. I need to understand the rest of this story. I'll help you however I can, Ellen whispered. Even if it hurts. Amanda looked up, tears in her eyes. Thank you. They didn't hug. Not yet. The air between them was still full of distance and questions. But something small shifted. A thread held between them hadn't broken completely. It had stretched, but it was still there. That night, Amanda sat on her childhood bed with the folder spread across her legs. She took each paper one by one, reading slowly, carefully. She saw the name again, Rebecca and Lytle, listed as her birth mother. There was also a hospital file. Birth date, March 16, 1990. Hospital, Cleveland Mercy General. A note scribbled at the bottom, mother declined contact. Infant transferred to foster intake. Amanda's heart ached. She wondered what her birth mother was going through back then. Had she cried while signing the papers? Did she ever regret it? Did she ever think of her? The next morning, Amanda called the county records office. The woman on the line told her that the adoption case was sealed and could only be opened by court order or mutual consent. Amanda would have to petition a judge. It wouldn't be quick. But she was ready. She also made another call, to the law office printed on one of the court documents. Maybe they had more files. Maybe someone there remembered her case. The receptionist transferred her to a man named Thomas Grady, a semi-retired lawyer who had been working in adoption cases for over 30 years. Miss Brooks, he said, his voice gravelly. You say your name is Amanda Brooks and you were adopted in 1990 through our office? Yes. Strange, he said. I remember that name. Hold on a moment. She waited, fingers trembling. When he returned, his voice had changed slightly. Yes. I found a record. Very basic, very limited. But there's something you should see. If you can come by in person, I can show you. I'll be there tomorrow, Amanda said without hesitation. That night she couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the last few days in her mind. Every piece she found only led to more pieces. A puzzle she hadn't even known existed was now pulling her deeper, and she couldn't stop. She wasn't sure what she would find next or if she was ready for it. But one thing was clear: she couldn't go back. She had to know the truth even if it changed everything. Amanda sat on the edge of her childhood bed, the adoption documents spread out before her like a puzzle she wasn't sure she wanted to solve. Her hands trembled as she stared at the names listed on the birth certificate. None of them were familiar. Her birth mother was someone named Lorraine Miller. Her birth father's name had been redacted in the copy. It felt unreal, like she had stepped into someone else's life story. She heard the creak of floorboards and looked up. Her Aunt Carol stood in the doorway holding a mug of tea. "You okay, sweetie?" she asked softly. Amanda nodded, but her voice caught. "Did you know about the adoption?" Carol hesitated. That pause said more than any words. She stepped inside, placed the mug on the nightstand, and sat beside Amanda. "I found out a few years ago. Your granddad told me right before his stroke. He said it was your mom's decision never to tell you." Amanda looked down. "So everyone just kept quiet and let me live a lie?" Carol placed a hand gently over hers. "It wasn't meant to hurt you. Your mom, she was terrified. She thought if you knew you'd leave her." The sentence stung. Amanda had always believed her relationship with her mother was built on truth and love. But now it felt hollow. The next morning, Amanda drove to her mother's house. The two hadn't spoken since Amanda arrived in Ohio. Her mother opened the door with a cautious smile, but her face fell the moment she saw Amanda's expression. "We need to talk," Amanda said. Inside, the air felt heavy. Photos of Amanda's childhood lined the walls. First day of school, piano recitals, prom night. All those moments captured in time now seemed like scenes from a scripted life. "I found the documents in Grandpa's attic," Amanda said without ceremony. "Why didn't you ever tell me I was adopted?" Her mother sat down slowly, hands in her lap. "Because you were mine, Amanda. From the moment I held you, you were my daughter. I didn't want you to feel like you were someone else's." Amanda shook her head. "But I am. I'm someone else's daughter. And I had a right to know." Tears welled up in her mother's eyes. "You were so sick when you were a baby. You had heart complications. No one wanted to take you in. But I saw you and I knew you were meant for me. You were a miracle, Amanda." Amanda's voice cracked. "Don't call me that. Don't use that word like it makes everything okay." Later that night, Amanda returned to her grandfather's attic. She needed answers even if they hurt. She combed through more boxes until she found a faded journal with her grandfather's initials. Inside were entries from the year Amanda was born. Today, Carol brought Amanda home. "She's tiny and fragile, but Carol won't give up on her. I admire her strength." "Wait, Carol." Amanda flipped the pages frantically. There it was again. "Carol is exhausted. She's still recovering from the birth, and now the baby has to undergo surgery next week. I pray every night they'll be okay." Amanda's breath caught. "Carol gave birth to me?" Amanda sat quietly at the kitchen table. The house felt heavier now. The folder from the attic was on the counter behind her. She had read it again this morning, twice in fact. Her name was there, clear as day on the adoption forms. Her birth name, Emily Grace Turner. Born to Hannah Turner, 23 years old at the time. Father listed as unknown. Her hands trembled every time she read that line. The woman she called mom for 31 years had lied to her. Her adoptive mother, Janet, arrived a few minutes later. She'd flown in from Florida after Amanda insisted she come immediately. Amanda hadn't said why on the phone. She had just said, "I need you here. It's important." Janet was smiling when she entered the door. "Oh, sweetie. You look tired. Everything okay?" she said as she took off her coat. Amanda didn't reply. She just pointed to the chair across from her. Janet sat down, her smile slowly fading. Amanda looked directly into her eyes and asked, "Who am I?" Janet blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, who? I," she repeated, her voice low but sharp. There was a pause. Then Janet's lips moved. "Amanda Brooks. My daughter." Amanda pulled the folder from behind and placed it on the table. "Then what's this?" she asked. Janet stared at the documents. The adoption papers, the DNA test, the court filings. Her face turned pale. I found it in Grandpa's attic, Amanda said. Why would he keep it? Why didn't you tell me? Why the lies? Janet's eyes welled up. I didn't lie to hurt you. I swear. Amanda slammed her hand on the table. You told me I was a miracle baby. That you had me late in life against all odds. You built a story around that. Every birthday, every holiday you repeated it. I had to, Janet whispered. I had to. Why? Amanda's voice cracked. Was the truth so terrible? Janet took a deep breath and looked down at her hands. You were left at a hospital in Cincinnati. No ID. No note. You were just a baby. The nurse said you had nothing but a pink blanket. The state couldn't find your birth parents. They assumed abandonment. When your grandfather told me about you, I just knew. You were meant for me. I didn't care where you came from. I wanted you. Amanda was frozen. Janet continued, I was 40. I couldn't have children. I had given up. And then your granddad doing volunteer work at the hospital saw you. He called me and said, she's yours if you want her. But that's not what the records say, Amanda pointed out. There was a mother. Hannah Turner. She filed for adoption. She signed off. Janet nodded. That part, I didn't know. The hospital said they didn't have her info. I thought she walked away. Thought, maybe she was a teenager scared. I told you what I believed. Amanda leaned back. Then why not tell me when I got older? Why not show me these papers? I didn't want to lose you, Janet said softly. I didn't want you to think you were less mine. Amanda stood up, paced around the room. You were my whole world, Mom. But now, I don't even know what part of my life was real. Silence. I never stopped loving you, Janet said. Everything I did was out of love. Amanda turned to her. But now I need to know where I come from. I need to know who Hannah Turner is. Is she alive? Did she look for me? Did she regret giving me away? These questions are burning holes in my head. Janet nodded quietly. Amanda opened another page of the folder. There's a return address. Springfield, Ohio. That's not far. I'm going to find her. Janet looked scared. What if she doesn't want to see you? Then at least I'll know, Amanda replied. I can't live with this what if anymore. The next morning, Amanda packed a small bag, got in her car and drove to Springfield. The address led her to a quiet street filled with aging houses. She parked in front of a modest white bungalow with blue curtains in the window. Her heart pounded. She got out and walked to the door. As she raised her hand to knock, it opened. A middle-aged woman stood there. Gray-streaked brown hair, tired eyes. She looked at Amanda, really looked. Emily, the woman said. Amanda froze. Hannah. They stared at each other for what felt like a lifetime. Yes, Hannah whispered. It's you. Tears filled Amanda's eyes. You recognize me? You have my nose, Hannah smiled faintly. I used to pray you'd come back someday. They stepped inside. No more words. Just a quiet, trembling hug that said more than anything else could. Amanda sat silently in her car for a long time, parked just outside the modest white house in suburban Cincinnati. It was a cloudy Saturday afternoon, and the wind rustled through the large oak trees that lined the neighborhood. This was the home of Margaret Weller, the woman whose name had shown up multiple times in the adoption paperwork. The woman who had signed as her biological mother. The house didn't look unusual. It had flower pots on the porch, a swing in the front yard, and a faded welcome sign hanging by the door. But to Amanda, it felt like the center of a storm. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. After years of believing she was a miracle baby, her mother's gift from heaven, this woman might hold answers to questions Amanda never even thought to ask. She finally stepped out of the car, her boots crunching against the gravel driveway. With each step toward the house, her breath grew shorter. She was about to come face to face with the woman who had given her life but never raised her. Her heartbeat thumped in her ears as she rang the bell. Seconds passed like hours. Then the door creaked open. A woman in her late 50s stood there, gray-streaked hair pulled back in a loose bun, pale blue eyes, and a soft but guarded expression. She looked at Amanda for a moment, then said in a calm, steady voice, "You must be Amanda." Amanda blinked, taken aback. "Yes, how did you?" Margaret gave a small, nervous smile. "I figured one day someone would come. You have his eyes. Sam's." Amanda's stomach flipped. You knew my grandfather? Margaret nodded, stepping aside. Come in. We have a lot to talk about. Inside, the home smelled faintly of cinnamon and old books. It was quiet. Amanda followed Margaret into a small living room with floral couches and photo frames on the walls. Some of the pictures caught Amanda's eye. A young woman with dark hair, a tall man beside her. But none of the photos looked recent. I don't even know where to begin, Amanda said, sinking onto the edge of the couch. Margaret sat across from her, folding her hands in her lap. Start wherever you want. Amanda reached into her bag and pulled out copies of the documents. The court filings, the DNA reports, the photos, and spread them on the coffee table. I found these in my grandfather's attic. And your name is on everything. Were you my biological mother? There was a long silence. Margaret looked down, her eyes welling with tears. Yes, I was. Amanda's breath caught in her throat. Even though she'd expected it, hearing it confirmed still hit her like a wave. Why? She asked, barely above a whisper. Why did you give me up? Margaret sighed and leaned back. I was 22. A mess. My parents had kicked me out because I got pregnant before marriage. Your father, well, he wasn't in the picture after that. I had no job, no money, nowhere to go. And then your grandfather found me. Amanda's head turned sharply. Sam. Yes. Sam Brooks, Margaret said. He was working with a private legal network at the time. They helped women like me. But he also had his own reasons. Amanda narrowed her eyes. What kind of reasons? Margaret hesitated, then continued. He and his wife had just lost their daughter. A stillbirth. They were devastated. They couldn't adopt through normal agencies because of some legal complications. So Sam came to me with a deal. He would cover my hospital bills, help me get on my feet, and in return, I would let him arrange a private adoption to someone he trusted. Amanda stared at her, struggling to process. And that someone was Diane, the woman I grew up calling Mom. Margaret nodded. Diane was Sam's sister. They raised you together after Sam's wife passed. Amanda felt like the room was spinning. So it was all kept within the family. Neat and hidden. Margaret gave a bitter smile. Exactly. There was another silence. Amanda rubbed her temples. All my life my mom told me I was a miracle. A blessing. But she never said I was adopted. Why didn't anyone tell me the truth? I begged them to tell you when you were older, Margaret said. But Sam was stubborn. He said the past was buried and it should stay buried. Amanda clenched her jaw. That doesn't make it right. No, Margaret agreed softly. It doesn't. Amanda stood and paced the room, overwhelmed. So what now? Am I just supposed to smile and pretend everything's fine? That I didn't live a lie for 28 years? You have every right to be angry, Margaret said. But you also have a right to know your story. All of it. Amanda turned back to her. There's more. Margaret nodded. She opened a nearby cabinet and pulled out a box, worn and dusty. She placed it on the table and opened it carefully. Inside were dozens of letters. Some were yellow with age. Some still sealed. I wrote to you, she said. Every birthday, every Christmas. I never mailed them. I didn't know where you were or if they'd even reach you. But I kept writing anyway. Just in case. Amanda reached for the letters with trembling hands. She opened one, dated on her 7th birthday. Dear Amanda, I hope today is filled with cake and laughter. I don't know if you know about me. Maybe not. But I think of you every day. I wonder if you still have your dimples. If you laugh like I used to. Love always. Mom. Tears spilled down Amanda's cheeks before she could stop them. Years of pain, confusion, and longing erupted all at once. Margaret reached over and gently held her hand. I know I can't fix the past. But I never stopped loving you. Amanda wiped her eyes. I don't know what to do with all this. You don't have to decide today, Margaret said. Take your time. I'll be here. Amanda nodded, overwhelmed but strangely lighter. The truth hurt, deeply, but it also brought clarity. Her life had been built on a carefully constructed story, but now she was finally learning the chapters that were hidden from her. She stood to leave, holding the letters close. Thank you. For being honest. Margaret gave her a quiet smile. Come back whenever you're ready. Outside, the clouds had parted slightly and sunlight filtered through the branches. Amanda got into her car holding the box of letters on her lap. Her heart was full of pain, yes, but also something new. A strange sense of beginning. Her identity had shattered and reshaped in a matter of weeks. But somewhere deep inside she knew one thing. This was not the end. It was only the middle of the story. Amanda didn't sleep that night. The folder sat on her nightstand, still partially open, like it was waiting for her to pick it up again. She stared at the ceiling, thinking about the people she thought she knew. Her parents, her grandfather, herself. Nothing felt real anymore. Morning light bled into the room through the curtains, and she finally swung her legs off the bed and stood up. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her best friend, Carla. "You okay? You never called back last night." Amanda stared at it, then slowly typed. "Not really. Can I come over?" Carla lived 10 minutes away. Amanda showed up with the folder under her arm. She didn't say much, just handed Carla the adoption papers and the court filings. Carla flipped through them silently, her eyes growing wider. "Wait, your mom adopted you?" Carla asked in disbelief. Amanda nodded slowly. "And never told me. Not once. I don't even know who these names are in here. Look, this is a DNA test result. And that," she pointed at a faded black and white photo, "I think that's my birth mother. But it's not labeled." Carla gently closed the folder. "Amanda, you have to talk to her. You need answers. Real ones." "I know. I just don't think I'll like what I hear." Amanda drove back home, nerves tight in her chest. Her mom was in the kitchen quietly slicing an apple. The sight was almost too normal. She stood in the doorway for a minute before speaking. "Mom, we need to talk. Now." Her mother froze, then slowly turned. "Okay," she said softly. "Let's sit." Amanda placed the folder on the table like evidence. Her mother stared at it but didn't speak. "I found this in Grandpa's attic," Amanda began, her voice trembling. "It has my name in court records. DNA results. A woman who might be my real mother. Why didn't you ever tell me?" Her mother looked tired, older than Amanda had ever seen her. "Because I was afraid," she whispered. "Afraid you'd stop seeing me as your mother." Amanda blinked. "But I had a right to know." "I know," her mother said. Her voice cracked. "I know you did. And I've regretted not telling you every single day. But when I first held you, when you were just a few weeks old, you looked at me like I was your world. And in that moment I became your world. I didn't want anything to change that." Amanda sat in silence, her hands clenched into fists on her lap. "Who are they?" she finally asked. "The people in those papers. My biological parents." Her mother swallowed hard. "Your birth mother's name was Lillian. She was very young. Barely 16. Your father, I don't know much. He wasn't in the picture. Lillian was from Columbus. She gave you up through a private arrangement. No agencies, just a lawyer your grandfather knew. He handled everything." Amanda was stunned. "And she just disappeared?" "She wanted it that way," her mother said. "She left a letter, but I never showed it to you. I still have it though." Amanda stared. "Can I see it?" Her mother nodded and left the room. A few minutes later she returned with a small, creased envelope. Amanda opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a handwritten note. "To the woman raising my daughter. I hope you love her more than I ever could. Please don't let her grow up resenting me. I'm doing this because I want her to have a better life. Tell her if she ever finds this, I loved her, always. Lillian." Amanda couldn't hold back her tears. Later that night Amanda lay in bed, the letter on her chest. Her mind raced. She felt grief for a mother she never knew, betrayal from the one who raised her, and confusion about who she really was. But above all she felt lost. As if everything that defined her had been erased and rewritten in a language she didn't speak. And yet there was something else too. A strange sense of possibility. Of doors slightly ajar. Maybe her story wasn't ending. Maybe it was just starting over. She picked up her phone and searched the name, Lillian plus Columbus plus adoption 1993. A few results popped up. Nothing solid. Then she noticed something odd. One forum entry on a private message board. Looking for a girl born May 3, 1993. I had to give her up. Her name was changed. I think she ended up in Ohio. Amanda's heart slammed against her ribs. That was her birthday. She clicked the username. Hope for Lillian 93. Last active, 2 days ago. The morning after Amanda's emotional confrontation with her mother left the house in an eerie silence. She had spent the night on the couch, her body tired but her mind restless. The folder from the attic sat on the coffee table, its documents spilling out slightly, a visual reminder that everything she believed about herself was still unraveling. By noon she got dressed and drove to the library downtown. She needed a public records computer to dig deeper into the name she'd found scribbled at the bottom of one of the court papers. Catherine Yates. It wasn't a name her mother mentioned. Amanda didn't know why it was there, but the way it was written, rushed, almost as if added last minute, made it stand out. A few keystrokes into the local records database and the name popped up. Catherine Yates, age 72, last listed residence. Waverly Avenue, just 15 minutes from her current location. No family listed. No obvious ties to her grandfather or her parents. Amanda printed the address and left. She wasn't sure what she expected. Maybe a closed door, a vacant house, or someone who barely remembered the past. But when she rang the doorbell, a pair of eyes peeked through a sheer curtain. Then slowly the door creaked open. "Can I help you?" the woman asked. Her voice was thin but steady. She looked tired, dressed in a faded robe even though it was the middle of the afternoon. "I'm sorry," Amanda began, trying to sound polite despite the nerves clawing inside her. "I think you might have known my grandfather, William Brooks. I found your name on some documents in his attic." The woman's hand clutched the edge of the door tighter. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at Amanda like she was trying to place her in a memory long buried. "Come inside," she finally said. The living room was old-fashioned and smelled faintly of vanilla and old paper. Family pictures lined the mantel. None of them included William Brooks. Catherine motioned for Amanda to sit, then took the armchair opposite her. "You said William Brooks?" Catherine asked slowly. Amanda nodded. "He passed recently. I was going through his things when I found a sealed folder. Your name was on one of the adoption records. And there were pictures. Documents." Catherine's eyes flickered. "How much do you know?" "I know I'm adopted. I know someone went through a lot of trouble to hide it. I know I was born in Cincinnati. And I know I wasn't supposed to find any of this." There was a long pause. Catherine rubbed her hands together, staring at the floor. "I was the nurse assigned to your birth mother." Amanda leaned in slightly. "My birth mother?" "She was only 19, Catherine said, her voice growing softer. "She came to the hospital alone. No family. No friends. She had strict instructions. Give birth, sign the papers, disappear. But she changed her mind. She wanted to keep you. She cried, begged us not to take you." Amanda's heart thudded. "She refused to sign the final release," Catherine continued. "But the next day she was gone. Discharged without notice. No one knew where she went. But the baby you had already been taken. Your grandfather arranged it through a private channel, one not entirely legal. I kept the paperwork. I didn't agree with what happened. But I had no power." Amanda sat in stunned silence. "He stole me. I don't know if stole is the right word. But he took control. Paid off whoever he had to. Registered you under new documents. The adoption was filed after the fact, not before." The room suddenly felt heavier. Amanda wanted to ask more, scream even, but Catherine's face was trembling. "I kept those documents in case anyone ever came looking," she said. "No one ever did." Amanda pulled out a few folded pages from her purse, copies she had made from the attic. "This is you, right? Your signature." Catherine nodded. "Do you know what happened to my birth mother?" "Her name was Emma." Catherine swallowed. "She used a fake name at the hospital. I never knew her real one. But I remember her face." Amanda clutched the arms of the couch. "Could you describe her?" She had light brown hair, very quiet eyes, like she was always waiting for something. "Not American, I think. Maybe Eastern European." There was an accent. A small piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Her features, the ones that never quite matched her parents', suddenly made more sense. "I need to find her," Amanda whispered. Catherine reached out and gently touched Amanda's hand. "I'm sorry. I really am. I kept quiet all these years out of fear. But you deserved the truth." Amanda nodded and stood. "Thank you." She left the house with her mind spinning. For years she believed she was a miracle, her mother's exact words. Now she realized that miracle might have meant miraculously obtained, not miraculously born. That evening Amanda drove to her mother's house again. This time her voice didn't shake. "I met Catherine," she said, standing in the doorway. Her mother looked like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were swollen, her expression guarded. "She told me about Emma. He told me what Grandpa did. How could you go along with that?" Her mother sat down slowly. "I didn't know the full story until after. Your father and I were trying to adopt legally, but we were rejected, age, income, whatever it was. Your grandfather offered to help. He made it sound clean. I wanted a child so badly, Amanda. And then you were just there. Baby. No questions. No agency. Just you." Amanda felt her chest tighten. "That's not a justification. You must have known." Her mother looked at her with tears in her eyes. "I told myself I was saving you. That whoever gave you up didn't care. But the older you got, the more I saw her in you, not physically but emotionally. You always had that sadness, that search in your eyes. I thought I could love you enough to make it disappear. But love without truth isn't enough," Amanda said quietly. Her mother nodded. "I know that now." Amanda walked over and sat beside her. For a moment they said nothing. "I'm going to keep looking for her," Amanda finally said. "If she's alive, I need to find her." Her mother didn't argue. "Then I'll help you." The next morning, Amanda started going through the rest of the documents in the attic folder. In the corner of one envelope, barely legible, was a hospital name that didn't match the ones she had already checked. St. Helena's Maternity Center, closed 1994. A quick online search showed that the hospital's old paper archives were transferred to a local women's shelter's basement. A shelter started by former nurses and midwives. He called them. They had kept some records. They asked for a name. "Emma," she said. "Possibly fake." "Pause. We have an Emma L., who signed in under emergency maternity care, April 1991. But she left before discharge. No forwarding address." Amanda's heart dropped. But then came a miracle. "Wait. She left a note," the voice on the phone said. "It's part of her file. Not very common. Can I see it? You'll have to come in person." Amanda was already halfway to the car. Amanda sat on the edge of her motel bed, her thumb gently running across the cracked edges of the last photo she had found in the folder. The baby in the image had the same tiny dimple on her right cheek as Amanda did. No name written, no date, just a faint hospital tag barely visible. It was her. And she had known it the second she saw it. She picked up her phone and stared at the unsent message to her mother. "We need to talk. It's urgent." Her thumb hovered over the send button, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. There was still a part of her, deep down, that didn't want to believe it. That needed it all to be a mistake. Maybe her grandfather had been confused. Maybe the documents were someone else's. But her own name, birth date, and even a hospital bracelet kept proving otherwise. After a long pause, Amanda opened her email and searched through her military archives. She wanted to find something, anything, that connected her to her parents legally. She needed proof that what she believed all her life wasn't a lie. But every record she had access to pointed back to her adoptive mother's name, not biological. Her actual birth certificate, she now realized, was never the official one but an amended copy. The next morning, Amanda drove 3 hours to Columbus to meet with the adoption agency listed in the documents. The building was old and quiet. A receptionist with reading glasses looked up as Amanda stepped inside. "I'm Lieutenant Amanda Brooks. I believe I was adopted through this agency. I found some documents and I need help understanding them." The receptionist asked for ID, then led Amanda into a small room with files stacked along one wall. 10 minutes later, a middle-aged woman entered, introduced herself as Teresa, and sat across from Amanda. "You said you found sealed documents?" Teresa asked carefully. Amanda nodded and pulled out copies of everything. Teresa looked them over, her expression changing slowly as she read through them. "You shouldn't have these," she said quietly. "They were supposed to remain sealed until court ordered." "But why?" Amanda asked, almost whispering. "Why keep this from me? I had a right to know who I am." Teresa sighed. "You were part of a highly sensitive private adoption. Your mother, your birth mother, was underage. The entire case was handled in secrecy because of the circumstances. And your adoptive mother, She fought hard to keep those records from being reopened. Amanda's chest tightened. So she knew everything. She always knew. Yes, Teresa said. Your adoption wasn't a simple case. Your birth mother gave up her rights under pressure. Your adoptive mother was close to someone involved in the legal process. Amanda leaned back in her chair, her eyes stinging. She always told me I was a miracle. That she prayed for me and one day I arrived. Like it was fate. But she lied. For years. I don't know her reasons, Teresa said gently. But I believe she truly loved you. Amanda nodded slowly. Maybe that was true. But love built on lies still hurt. Later that evening, Amanda finally hit send on the message. Within minutes, her phone rang. Amanda? Are you okay? Her mother's voice was panicked. Why urgent? What happened? I found the folder in Grandpa's attic, Amanda said calmly. The sealed documents. The adoption papers. DNA test. I know the truth. Silence. Then her mother sighed softly, painfully. I always knew this day would come. Amanda's heart broke a little more hearing those words. Why didn't you tell me? Why not ever? I was going to. Someday, her mother said. But every time I looked at you, you were mine. From the moment I held you, I promised I'd protect you. Even from the truth. I deserved to know. I know, her mother said. But I was afraid. Afraid you'd hate me. Afraid I'd lose you. Amanda didn't speak. She was too busy holding back tears. There's something else, her mother continued. You've only seen part of the story. You don't know what your birth mother went through. She didn't want to give you up. Amanda felt her heart skip. What do you mean? She was young. Her parents forced her. They were strict, religious, and thought having a child at that age would ruin her life. She begged to keep you. I was in the room. She held you until the last moment. A lump formed in Amanda's throat. Do you know her name? Her mother hesitated. Then softly, yes, I do. Amanda waited. Her name is Sarah. Sarah Miller. She was 17. The line went quiet. Amanda quickly typed the name into her laptop. Too many results. She needed a location. She's from Akron, Ohio, her mother added quietly. That's all I know. I haven't seen her since that day. Amanda closed her eyes. It wasn't much, but it was something. A name. A city. A beginning. That night she barely slept. She kept seeing Sarah's face in her imagination. Young, scared, holding a newborn version of herself, crying in a hospital room as strangers took the baby away. The same baby Amanda had been told was sent by God, not stolen from a crying teenage girl. Amanda's heart pounded in her chest as she stood in front of the heavy wooden door of the old law office in Columbus. The building looked like it hadn't changed since the 1970s, and the brass plaque still read Walton and Keyes, Family Law. This was the last place mentioned in the folder. Her hands trembled slightly as she pushed the door open. Inside, the smell of paper and varnish hung in the air. A middle-aged receptionist looked up and smiled. Can I help you? I'm looking for records related to a closed adoption. From 1994. My name is Amanda Brooks, but that might not be the name listed. The receptionist blinked. One moment, she said, vanishing behind a wall of file cabinets. 10 minutes later, an older man in a gray suit appeared. Miss Brooks, he said. I'm Gerald Keyes. My father was the original partner here. I understand you're asking about an adoption case. Amanda nodded. Yes. I recently found documents in my grandfather's attic. Court papers, photos, DNA test. I was adopted, but I never knew. My parents never told me. Gerald looked both surprised and sympathetic. That's unusual. Most adoptions we handled were confidential, yes, but families were usually informed. Come with me. They walked to his office and he pulled out a thick folder. The name at the top made Amanda freeze. Amanda Lynn Harper. That's me, she whispered. Gerald nodded. Your birth mother's name was Sarah Harper. She was 17. She wanted you to have a better life. Amanda's throat tightened. And my father? He hesitated. That's where things get complicated. He turned the folder around and showed her a document. DNA test. 2 names were circled. Sarah Harper, confirmed mother. The alleged father was listed as Daniel Brooks. Amanda stared. That's my adoptive father's name. Gerald nodded solemnly. According to this, Daniel Brooks was your biological father. Her brain spun. But how? He and my mom said they adopted me after years of infertility. I was always told I was a miracle. Are you saying that Daniel Brooks was in a relationship with Sarah Harper, and he arranged the adoption privately? Your adoptive mother, Margaret Brooks, agreed to raise you without ever telling you the truth. Amanda felt the floor tilt beneath her. Her entire childhood rewrote itself in her mind. Birthdays, family photos, bedtime stories, all under a false banner of truth. Does my mother know I know? She asked. No, Gerald replied. But maybe it's time she did. Amanda drove back to Cincinnati in silence. The highway stretched endlessly, but her mind was louder than ever. The documents in her passenger seat felt like they weighed a ton. She gripped the wheel until her knuckles were white. She wasn't sure how to face Margaret, the woman who raised her, loved her, and lied to her. When she walked through the door of the house she grew up in, Margaret was sitting in her armchair, reading. Amanda held up the folder. We need to talk. Margaret's eyes met hers, and for a moment neither of them spoke. I went through Grandpa's attic, Amanda said, her voice shaking. I found this. Court records. DNA test. Your name. Dad's name. My birth mother's name. You said I was a miracle, Mom. You never said I was his daughter. Margaret closed her book slowly and looked at her daughter. No, at her secret. I wanted to tell you, she said softly. So many times. But I couldn't. Why? Amanda's voice cracked. Margaret sighed. Because I didn't want you to hate me. Amanda sat across from her. Tell me everything. Margaret stared at the carpet for a moment, gathering her words. Daniel was 25 when he met Sarah. He was a teenager. It was inappropriate, it was wrong. Her parents were furious. But by the time anyone found out, she was already pregnant. She didn't want to keep you, but Daniel, he wanted to. He wanted to raise you. And you? Amanda asked. I had just married him. I knew about Sarah. I was ashamed. But I loved him. We couldn't have children of our own, and he begged me to raise you as ours. I thought, maybe it was fate. I agreed. But the only condition was that we never speak of it. Ever. Tears burned in Amanda's eyes. So I'm his daughter. Biologically. Margaret nodded. Yes. And I loved you every second. As my own. I still do. Amanda wiped her eyes. The truth hurt, but oddly, it brought clarity. What happened to Sarah? She asked. She moved to Arizona. Started over. She didn't want to be found. Amanda whispered, but I want to find her. 3 weeks later, Amanda stood outside a modest home in Tucson, Arizona. The woman who opened the door had the same eyes. Green, curious, slightly sad. Sarah Harper? Amanda asked. Yes. I think I'm your daughter. Sarah's breath caught. For a moment the world stood still. Then without a word she opened her arms and Amanda stepped into them. They sat for hours. Talking. Laughing. Crying. Sarah explained how scared she had been. How alone. How young. How she never stopped wondering where Amanda was, what she looked like, who she'd become. I thought about you every year on your birthday, she said. I was so afraid to reach out and ruin your life. Amanda shook her head. You didn't ruin it. You just made it more complicated. But I think I'm ready to know all of it now. Sarah smiled, her eyes wet. Then let's begin. 6 months later, Amanda stood on a stage at a military conference, receiving an award for outstanding service. But her speech wasn't about war or medals or ranks. It was about truth. I always believed I knew who I was, she said to the crowd. But I've learned that identity isn't just about blood or secrets or what's written on paper. It's about love, courage, and the strength to face what's been hidden. She looked out at the crowd. Margaret sitting next to Sarah, both women who shaped her. I'm not just a soldier, Amanda said. I'm the daughter of 2 brave women. One who raised me and one who gave me life. And today I finally honor both. The applause echoed through the hall. But for Amanda, the real reward was peace. If this story moved you, share it with someone who believes family is more than DNA. Subscribe for more powerful real-life mysteries and emotional journeys.